Yo, what's going on everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula. I hope you're having a good day and welcome to today's Pokemon Go video. Alright, so today I'm going to be putting a spotlight on Salamence, and the reason for that is because recently we got Bagon Community Day Classic, so I'm sure there's a bunch of you that have high IV Salamences and you want to know what to do with it. Well, this Pokemon is actually really good, even though it is not a legendary. In fact, when it comes to non-legendary Pokemon, it's probably going to be one of the best in your collection. You just need to make sure you have the right movesets and you use it in the right areas of the game. As you can see right here, I have myself a 100% IV Salamence. It's probably one of my most used Pokemon that's not a legendary, and the reason for that is because this Pokemon is incredibly good. If you're not using Rayquaza or Mega Rayquaza, you should be using Salamence. This Pokemon is phenomenal when it comes to Dragon type raid damage, and the key thing here is that when it comes to its stats, it's actually just a little bit tankier than Rayquaza, which makes it really good in certain situations. And on top of that, with the right moveset, this Pokemon can deal enough damage to be quite comparable to regular Rayquazas. Of course, when it comes to Mega Rayquaza, that's going to be the absolute king, and eventually when we get Shadow Rayquaza, that's going to be the very best. But when it comes to Salamence, this Pokemon can hold its own, and I actually think this one is worth investing into. Now, let's talk about Shadow Salamence. I think this Pokemon is underrated when it comes to Dragon types. It's actually really good, and it's probably going to out DPS some Rayquazas. It's that powerful. This Pokemon is basically going to be the best non-legendary and non-mega Dragon type out there, and it's going to be devastating against certain gym battles and also certain raids, which are weak against Dragon types. Of course, out of all of the different types, Dragon types are weak against Dragon types. So when it comes to using Dragon types, you will want a little bit of bulk because, yeah, you're going to be dealing a lot of damage, but they're also going to be dealing a lot of damage to you. But Salamence actually has a little bit of bulk. It has a really high TDO score when it comes to its stats, so in some cases it might be more useful than even Rayquaza. That's something you need to keep in mind when it comes to Salamence. And when it comes to the Shadow form, that's definitely the one you will want to use. But let's talk about the non-Shadow form. The reason why you will want to invest in a non-Shadow Salamence is simply because of this right here. Yeah, it's Mega Evolution. It's incredibly powerful. Yes, it's not going to be as powerful as Mega Rayquaza, but in terms of Dragon types, it can definitely be a powerhouse. Another thing you should know is that when it comes to Mega Rayquaza, that is not often in Mega Raids compared to Mega Salamence, so it's going to be much easier to stock up on Mega Energy for Mega Salamence, so you're probably going to end up using this Pokemon a lot more than Mega Rayquaza anyway. I really do think that when it comes to these two Pokemon, it's going to be a lot more easier and a lot more efficient to have Mega Salamence as opposed to Mega Rayquaza, especially when it comes to raid battles that are weak against Dragon types. Mega Salamence has incredible bulk. In fact, I think it's even bulkier than Mega Rayquaza. So this is definitely going to be a very useful Mega Evolution, especially when it comes to raid battles. Next, let's talk about the setup. So when it comes to my Salamence, I obviously have 100% IVs, but not everyone is going to get that. You will want to have at least 15 attack, however, because this Pokemon is specifically good for raids. It's never going to be useful in the Master League or Ultra League, so you do not want to build it out for PvP. Specifically focus on the attack stat. When you appraise the Pokemon, you will want that first line to be all the way to the right. If that is the case, you got yourself a really good Salamence for raid battles. So yeah, that's the one you will want to max out. If you have a 100%, that's definitely the one you will want to max out, but make sure it has the right moveset. Speaking of which, let's talk about the ideal moves. For sure, you will want to have the combination of Dragon Tail and Outrage. This is the highest DPS moveset when it comes to dragons, and you will definitely want to have that on Salamence when you're going to be using it in raids. You can also have Draco Meteor as a backup move. I think if you have the combination of Outrage and Draco Meteor and utilize your energy correctly, you could have the highest output of DPS. But I think the biggest priority should be Dragon Tail and Outrage. If you did not evolve into Salamence during Bagon Community Day Classic, unfortunately you will not get Outrage. That is a Community Day exclusive move, but it is definitely worth your Elite Charge DMs, especially if you have yourself a 100% IV Salamence. If you do not have yourself a 100% IV Salamence, then I would hold on to those Elite Charge DMs and instead try to invest into Rayquazas, which typically do not require any Elite Charge DMs. TMs. Save those elite charge TMs specifically for PvP Pokemon because I think it holds a lot more value in that regard. Now, when it comes to using Mega Salamence, there's actually a little bit of a secret that I've been using. So you could see on this Salamence, I have Draco Meteor, but sometimes I will actually TM it to Hydro Pump depending on the raid boss, because Hydro Pump is a very powerful move against fire types and ground types, and Mega Salamence is resistant to both of those types, which means it's going to last much longer in battle. So even though it does not have a type advantage, it's definitely going to be in battle much longer, which means you're going to increase the damage of other water types in the raid party for much longer. That's certainly a strategy that I've been using in the past, because when it comes to Mega Evolutions, they are going to be a lot more valuable the longer they are in battle. And if you have Hydro Pump on Mega Salamence, then all the water types are going to see a boost in their damage. And considering that Mega Salamence is resistant to ground type attacks and fire type attacks, it's kind of like a secret weapon that you can use. And considering the high stats that this Pokemon has, it's going to be a decent generalist on top of all that. So if you want to have a spicy pocket pick in raid battles that's actually going to be useful, consider bringing Mega Salamence with Hydro Pump if you're going up against a ground type or a fire type raid boss. Probably the most notable one is going to be Primal Groudon. I've actually seen a lot of raids where people will be using Mega Salamence as opposed to the usual Pokemon you would bring like Mega Sceptile or Primal Kyogre. It's actually not going to deal as much damage as those Pokemon, but it's certainly going to be useful. And I do suggest you consider bringing Mega Salamence, especially if you do not have any of those other Mega Evolutions ready to Mega Evolve. And the other nice thing about Mega Salamence compared to other Mega Evolutions is that, well, Bagon is often considered a very common pseudo-legendary. It's very surprising because I often find that there's going to be a lot of in-game events that's going to include Bagon spawns, which means it's going to be really easy to farm up those candies and XL candies to power up your best Salamence. So yeah, overall, this is a very solid Pokemon. It's really good if you have a 100% IV, at least with 15 attack, and make sure you have Dragon Tail and Outrage, and then the other charge attack could be any of the other moves that he has in his arsenal. And you're going to do really well. You will also want to make sure you farm up the Mega Energy of this Pokemon because it is an extremely useful Mega Evolution. The only other Pokemon that's going to outclass it is of course Rayquaza, and considering that it is a legendary that is not always accessible, this is your absolute best second option when it comes to raids. But yeah, with that said, that's going to be it for this video. Now, I would love to know your thoughts regarding this Pokemon down below. Is there a particular fact about Salamence that you think the community needs to know about? Or is there something about this Pokemon that you simply do not like? I would like to know what that is down below in the comments, and let's have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. If you ended up enjoying it, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here. And also don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to every single patron on my Patreon. You all make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Jinsula channel, the best way you could do so is by going to my Patreon page and becoming a paid member. If you do, you will get a permanent spot on my in-game Pokemon GO friends list. So if you want to interact with me in some way, like with remote raids or the friendship system, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. Also, if you want to support my channel in a different way, you could do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula, and I'm on the platforms that you see on screen. And yeah, with all that said, that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch y'all later.